and their similitude in the gospel. It's like a seed which sends forth its blade that makes it strong. It then becomes thick, and it stands on its own stem, filling the soils with wonder and delight. As a result, it fills the unbelievers with rage at them. Allah has promised those among them who believe and do righteous deeds forgiveness and a great reward. That one wasn't quite as bad on that one. The end, and that's the last. That's actually the last verse. You know what I mean? And there's Muhammad is the apostle of Allah, and those who are with him are strong against unbelievers. Now the original, I'd like to see the original Arabic in that one. I bet it's a little harsher than what we're reading here now. Well, we started at about 1:30. I'm only halfway through at best. But before I end, I think we have to do maybe, we won't be able to finish. I think we're going to have to do a special session tomorrow. We were going to begin at 11 tomorrow. I think we're going to have to begin at 9 again tomorrow. Do a special service tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. again, so I can finish this. And but before I end, any questions?
I can't make it anyway. Just
You should.
Yeah, I guess I can say
What's your question?
it's not really a question, but it's more like a statement.
What's your statement?
I remember like earlier you saying how the Muslims were saying that we have to accept that their word as the truth and everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember one of your other teachings, they say that they always called Allah like the God of schemes or like the God of liars and scheming of schemes, something like that.
The God of what?
Like schemes,
Scheming.
like telling asking all this, how that schemes
The
or
deceiver.
liars.
Oh yeah, that's the part I haven't gotten to yet. But let me explain something to you. When I ask for questions, okay, let me ask this question. I started off very, very mild, reading verses from the Quran where they say that they respect the religion of other, the beliefs of other religions. Did I not?
right.
You know, it was kind of, in a way, dull reading. You're sitting there waiting, okay, yeah, what's that? All right. And I read to you all of these verses about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Read somewhere about almost 20 verses, somewhere between 10 and 20 verses at least, about close to 20 verses. Okay, and some of those were multiple verses, but I'm talking about citations, between about 20 different citations of various verses where they say they respect the beliefs of other religions. Then I just got through reading you probably double that amount, or the same amount, another 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. About the same amount, if not more, where they say, kill all unbelievers. Don't ask for peace. You're a wimp if you ask for peace. If you don't come out and fight, fighting is ordained for you. That's what's good for you, fighting. You don't have a question. How can they say how can you have the first set of verses and the second set of verses? No one wants to ask that question. How can we have such a startling and stark difference,
Yeah, major contrast.
major contrast. No one wonders that.
We already know. Do you guys know why? I don't know.
You know because you was doing some of the studying with me.
And,
But everybody doesn't know.
Why do you
But
think
yeah.
they have, go ahead, Lionel, sorry.
well, I mean, you also had us watch had me watch the videos with you and the stuff that Mom showed us on the computer and the lessons that we went through and listening to you tell other people. It's like how you said, it's the stages of jihad, or just,
You have to understand the stages of jihad,
right.
Yeah.
okay? And I didn't break that down for you just yet. I wanted you to kind of see the contrast. And I still have more that will show that contrast even more. You know, basically, as I put these verses down, I highlighted them. I highlighted the ones that were peaceful, and I highlighted the ones where they're talking about war with a different color. And then we haven't even gotten to them yet. I highlighted the information about lying that I haven't even gotten to yet, but we'll reserve for tomorrow. But basically, in understanding the Quran, remember I said that the Quran was given to one man, Muhammad, starting in 610 AD, or 610 CE, Christian era, or after the death of Ain-al-Dami. Okay? And it was revealed to him over approximately 20 years, to one man. And it has 114 chapters, or surahs, and various number of verses for each surah. That was the breakdown of the Quran. I also told you the definition of what a hadith is, and how the hadith has the same weight and authority as the Quran itself. What I did not go into were two other things that you need to know in order to properly understand the Quran. First of all, every Muslim is commanded to enter into jihad. It's not a choice. So what do they say? Fighting is better for you.
Yeah.
Okay?
Thing required.
And if you don't fight, you're a punk. It said don't get faint-hearted and start asking for peace. So jihad, or fighting, is a command for every single Muslim. They don't have a choice. That's what you have to get out of that. Do you see that from those surahs I read?
Yeah.
Fighting is ordained for you. Ordained, we saw one translation, ordained, another translation, prescribed. If you don't go out, you either have to go out and fight, or you have to give them money so that they can go out and fight. And you should be saving up your money so that you can either go out and fight or give money to people who are going to go out and fight. If you don't, you're not a believer.
Right.
And if you went out, it said leave them folks behind. Because if they went out, they're just going to spread sedition and just, mess everything up. So we can see that, as I say again, fighting is ordained. Fighting is mandatory. And it says when you're fighting, don't get tired and start asking for peace. Keep fighting. Keep fighting. Until those people of the book and those unbelievers around you are dead or subdued, and feel themselves subdued, and pay the jizya, or repent and convert. But what you need to know to understand why you have such a contrast, why you have such a stark clash between one set of verses and another, is that Jihad has 3 stages. Are you listening to me?
Mhm.
How many stages does jihad have?
3.
Okay. Jihad has 3 stages. The first stage is peaceful coexistence or resistance. That's when they say, hey, you worship what you worship, I worship what I worship. You're not going to worship what I worship, and I'm not going to worship what you worship. To you be your way, and to me be my way. That's peaceful resistance, right? Because he said, hey, you worship what you worship, and I worship what I worship. You're not going to worship what I worship, and I'm not going to worship what you. So I'm resisting you. If you're wanting me to worship, I'm saying, hey, and I'm saying I'm not going to worship what you worship. You do your thing, I do mine.
Mhm.
There's no compulsion in religion. Okay? You know, to Christians, Jews, Sabaeans, and others, if you lead a righteous life, doing righteous deeds, then your reward is with your Lord. And you know, shall have no fear of anything or a penalty. Okay? That's the first stage of jihad. The second stage, which we just kind of got a little taste of, is when they actually go out and fight. And that's the second stage of jihad is usually purely defensive. If they are attacked, they're definitely going to attack you. We went over some scriptures that says, you know, if they break a treaty with you, or if they, you know, strive, you know, what's the penalty if they strive against you? You know,
So like
you know, death, crucifixion. What was the other one? Some sort of death. If there was death by crucifixion, and or cut off the, you know, the hand and the feet on opposite sides and that sort of thing. That's the second in defense. The third is when even if the people around you are peaceful, if they're unbelievers, you kill them anyway. You go out and kill them anyway. So first stage of jihad is coexistence, peaceful resistance. Second is total retaliation if they attack you. Third is completely offensive. We just going out and we killing whoever is not a believer. And everybody has to go. 3 stages of jihad. And each, you know, they have scriptures for each stage. Okay? Remember, the revelation, or if you want to call it a revelation, Muhammad wrote the Quran over he came up with, I don't know if he actually wrote it, other people wrote it, but he came up with the Quran, or he says it was given to him by, well, we know it was the devil, but he claims it was given to him by the angel Gabriel over a 20-year period. It's funny how the first surah, the first few surahs that we get are peaceful. When he didn't have any power, when he had no political or military power, all of the surahs were peaceful. Now, as we read them, they're all out of order. You know, the Quran is not in chronological order. You hear me?
Right.
It's not in chronological order. They're not written down according to the time that they were given. When we go in and take those 114 surahs and rearrange them chronologically, we see that the first set of surahs I gave you that were peaceful, they came first. All right?
Right.
The second set that I read you came last. Surah 9 is the last surah that talks about war. Before, they had no talk of war. So the last surah that was given that talked about warfare is Surah 9. Surah 2 was given much earlier. Some of the, and so they're peaceful, or what they like to say, moderate.
Right.
So that's why you have that stark contrast, that, or seemingly to them, or what we would say is total contradiction.
Absolutely.
Okay.
The Quran is a perfect book.
All right.
No contradiction.
It's because the first set was when they had no military might or power. They didn't have that many converts yet. As they grew in converts and power, then, the surahs come down, hey, let them find hardness in you, kill them, wipe them out. Can't even be friends with them now. Unless you're friends with them, it's a false friendship, really. You're being friends with them because you don't have enough power to kill them. So you say, hey, how you doing? What's going on? Come out to the lake and eat some goat. Then when they've got the power, then it's just ride on. Let's just kill them. So the surahs that are peaceful were given first in the first part of that 20-year period. The surahs that are kind of in between, that they were given second. And the ones that are really harsh, that those are the final surahs. Like we read in Surah 9. Every time we read something in Surah 9, it was, just kill, go to war, kill again, kill some more. The 3 stages of jihad.
Right.
And we read here in this last one, we know that all are ordered to go out and fight. They don't have a choice. Every Muslim must engage in jihad. Now they'll lie to your face and say, oh, it's internal, spiritual, battling, what we would call the flesh. We know that that's a joke, but that's what they'll say to your face. But we know that's not it. It may be part of it, but we know the other part as well. The first phase of jihad is generally called the Meccan phase, when he was in Mecca, when Muhammad was in Mecca. Then the second and the third phases are called the Medina phase. And they just killed, and after that, rode out and killed everybody. Now, there's another concept to help you understand. First, you got to understand the 3 phases of jihad, what they are. Remember, peaceful coexistence, peaceful resistance, defensive fighting, and offensive attack, all-out war. The other principle when you're reading the Quran so that you understand it is called abrogation. Abrogation means to make null and void, to erase, or to treat as if it does not exist. Did you hear me? Mm-hmm. Abrogation means to make null and void, to erase, and to treat as if it didn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
The earlier verses that I read to you are abrogated by the later verses that I gave to you. The ones where it say go out and kill unbelievers, don't be friends with them. They were given later. So they abrogate the ones given earlier, meaning they make them null and void. The ones about war were given later. The ones about not being friends are given later. Okay? So those given later about not being friends with unbelievers, about killing them wherever you find them, lay in wait for them with every conceivable thing of war, cut off their hands and feet on opposite sides. Don't be weird. Don't sue for peace. Don't get weary. Don't get faint-hearted. Go to war. It's ordained for you. Those abrogate the earlier ones about, hey, you worship what you worship. No compulsion in religion. Okay, you do your thing, I do my thing. All right? They abrogate, though these over here about war abrogate the ones about peace. Meaning they make them null and void, erase them, or treat them as if they don't exist. So these abrogate these are abrogated by these. So when you read the Quran, you have to know which scriptures are abrogating other scriptures and which scriptures are being abrogated by the later, I hate to use the word scriptures for the Quran like I do for the Bible. That's why I say verses. You have to know which verses are being abrogated, which verses are abrogating, and vice versa. And they have various books called Tafsirs. Tafsir. Tafsir.
Right.
I think plural for them is, I think you said ha-tafsir. You don't say tafsirs. That's not really plural in Arabic. They have what they call a tafsir, which is like a commentary on the Quran. You will look up a verse in a tafsir. You will look up a verse. It'll tell you what other verses are related to that verse, and which verses, if that verse is abrogated by another verse, and which hadiths go to that verse, and they'll recite the hadiths too. That's how you will really have to try to understand the Quran. You have to know about the 3 stages of jihad. You have to know the chronology of the Quran, which surah came down first and which was second, which is abrogating, which is abrogated, and that sort of thing. And you basically need a tafsir to do that. I was wondering if I was going to spend the money to get one, but I think I have to now to get a deeper understanding, because I think I may be called to give a lot more detail on this subject than I'm doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the reason for the contradiction, so to speak. This principle of abrogation. So in other words, when they say, when the moderates, I don't even like that word moderate. It's impossible to be a moderate Muslim or moderate Islam. You're practicing something else. It's like practicing Christianity without Jesus. It ain't Christianity if it doesn't have Jesus, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't practice Islam without waging war. You can't do it, because the principle of abrogation means that these later verses are the ones that you have to be following and acting upon right now today, which is all out war against anyone who does not believe in Allah and the Quran. Now tomorrow I'm going to talk about how to use and show you in their own Quran how to use lies and deception and deceit to accomplish this. Because you still don't have a really good foundation until I show you their verses on lying, cheating, and stealing. Their Quran says it's okay for them to lie, cheat, and steal, as long as long as they're doing it to you, or there's a profit in it. If you can make money off of it, they're allowed to lie, cheat, and steal to an unbeliever. Try to finish up tomorrow if I can. Or maybe we might have, if I can't finish tomorrow, we have to do another special service on Sunday until I finish everything. To get the final. Hope I can do it tomorrow. But as you can see, Islam is not a religion. Only by today's definition, it's a terrorist organization. It's, you know, I grew up, there was a TV show called Maxwell Smart, and he was always fighting against this agency called Crush that was bent on worldwide destruction and all that stuff. And then I grew up watching the James Bond movies, and James Bond was always fighting against Spectre. You know, they were, you know, for worldwide crime and destruction and profit, you know. Islam is like Crush and Spectre. They want worldwide dominance until everybody is, you know, believes in Islam. Worldwide destruction.
I have this, I'm just thinking, you know.
You got a question? Go ahead.
Not a question, just a thought about, because I care about Muslims, okay?
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to teach hatred
Mm-hmm.
toward them, we don't want to be prejudiced against them, and we don't understand that they don't understand. And they're just trying to be good Muslims. And what they believe to be true, the Quran is telling them not to believe anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Straight up, just not to believe and listen to anyone else.
Come up here. Say it when people can see. Start over. Let's say whether they heard you or not. So.
I was just saying, reiterating that we do not want to hate Muslims. We don't want to be prejudiced. We don't want to teach hatred. I care about the Muslims. I care about what is happening to them and why they believe what they believe and how to help them understand the truth. And that is where we run into a major difficulty, because the Quran does tell them not to listen to those who believe the Bible, Christians and Jews. And that's the hardest thing, is that as Christians, we're taught to love our enemies. And we must pray for them. And we have to have the power of God in us to work through us to have any hope to show them the truth. Because just talking about it is not enough. You have to have the power of God in you. And you have to be able to demonstrate that, to show them. Now, do you believe? If they do, in the power, I mean, if they believe in the power, I think that's the only way you can show them that where they're walking and what they've been told through the Quran is total error. So we have to know how to pray, and that's what I am definitely believing I'm doing, striving to do, and knowing how to reach the Muslims, the people of Islam who believe in that faith, to help them as best we can, as we're commanded to bring and pray that God's will be done, His kingdom come, His will be done on earth as it is in heaven, and that we want to expand the kingdom of God. They're just the same way. Quran tells them to, you know, they want them to take over in terms of their faith. You know, they want everyone to be Muslim. So, but for the reasons, it's so twisted. The reasons we want to be Christian is because we believe.
Well,
in
the methods are twisted.
The methods are twisted.
The method is twisted. Okay, we want everybody to be Christian, but we believe in doing it through peaceful means. They want everybody to be a Muslim, but they want to do it by killing everybody.
As they were told to.
And make everybody do it. That's why I say it's not a religion, but by today's definition, it's a terrorist organization. All of Islam is a terrorist organization. Now, you can say, as we, you know, our leaders and the media keep saying, well, what about the moderates? And they, you know, they've coined this politically correct phrase now, moderate Islam, the moderates. And it's interesting, why can't they just be Islam? You know, we don't have moderate Christianity in order to exclude the Ku Klux Klan and the white Aryan church or anything like that. We don't have moderate, okay? Why is it, you know, the term that they're using for political correctness belies the truth in it. The reason why you have to use it, it's really very accurate, because Islam, in order to be an acceptable means of worship in any civilized society, has to be moderated extensively. It has to be moderated. It has to be adjusted, watered down, whatever. Otherwise, Islam on its face is purely a terrorist organization bent on worldwide dominance by force. And as they said, war with every strategy of war there is, as is written in their manifesto called the Quran. It says, lie in wait for them with every strategy of war. Every strategy. Be fierce to them. Be firm. Don't ask for peace. Everybody has to go out and fight, or you're not a believer. Or you have to pay money. You either go fight or you give them money to those who will go fight. And they do. They give men. Right here in Tulsa, last year, they busted a car dealership, or a couple of car dealerships here. They were owned by Muslims, and they were sending millions of dollars a year into terrorists, you know, from the profits of those small used car dealerships. They were sending millions and millions of dollars a year to terrorist organizations. And the FBI raided them, I think not this past summer or summer past, not even a year ago. They were raided by the FBI. And alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, and a couple other agencies, a couple other alphabet agencies. Right here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, funneling millions and millions of dollars a year into terrorist organizations. These people are serious about dominating us. I'll talk maybe a little bit more tomorrow, or we may have to do this in a 3 or 4 part series to get it all done. They're serious about dominating us.
We just don't want to talk about it. We want to know what to do. What to do. Boy, that's a tough one. But we're going to come up with some spiritual strategies, and the other strategies we may have to leave it to yourself or whatever. Or as we get into this fight, we'll come up with something. But you can see now that calling, they are required to fight us, required to do jihad. I can't say that enough. You cannot be a Muslim and be a so-called moderate. You're practicing something else. If it's true at all, if you truly do not condone violence of any kind or terrorism of any kind, then you're not practicing Islam. You have adopted something else. Whereas at the heart of Christianity is Jesus Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach, love and peace. At the heart of Islam is war. Physical war. Vietnam, World War II, Nazi Germany type war. Not spiritual war, physical war is at their heart. That's their main directive. Main directive is to wage war. Because all of the verses
about love and peace are abrogated by the ones talking about war.
Mhm.
Remember abrogation. They don't exist. You treat them as if they don't exist. They've been erased or made null and void. This is in their own material. This is not something that me and someone else made up. This is what they believe. This, if you read what was that? The Kaftir, what is it?
Kafir? The Kafir?
If you read Sharia law and the tafsir, that's what they tell you, which verses are aggregated. So, you know, one person was saying, well, the terrorists, they just focus in on, you know, one part of Islam or one part of the Quran, just those verses. It's not that they just focus on it. They're commanded, you know, their own material. That's how it's done. That's how they read the Quran. How all of them read the Quran. It's not a choice. That's Islam. You know, now that you know that truth, how can you trust anybody who studies Islam, who says they practice Islam? And when I show you tomorrow about how they lie and deceive about it, you're really going to say, whew, you know, if you have a friend who is a Muslim, you have to say to that friend, look, how can you say you're my friend and you're studying this stuff? That's like me as an African American, as a black man. I got a good friend who's in the Ku Klux Klan. The Ku Klux Klan. And it's okay that he's in the Ku Klux Klan. How can he be my friend? Oh, Vince, you're not like of you know, some Klan members have said that. You know, Oprah Winfrey show. Years ago, she did a segment where she went to some town in Georgia and the members of the Ku Klux Klan were there. And she talked to one Klan member and he was saying, well, black folks this and that. And she said, wait a minute, I'm a black person. You can hear him. He said, oh, no, not you, Oprah. You know, there's some others, you know. You know, I would have to say, if I did have a friend who was in the Ku Klux Klan, I would have to say, how can you be my friend? You cannot be my friend and be a member of that organization or hold any of their, you know, ideologies in your heart and mind. And unless you renounce them to me openly and publicly, and I, you know, sincerely where I can believe you, we can't talk. We cannot be friends if you're in that organization. It's as simple as that. And we have to go to our Muslim friends and, you know, it's a possibility that maybe they don't, you know, a lot of Christians don't know the Bible. It's a possibility they don't know the Quran. They don't even know how their Quran is structured and what their duty is. But there are some who do. And the only reason why we have terrorists is because they are reading the Quran and they understand it and they understand their duty as it is spelled out in the Quran. That way, that's why there's no such thing as a moderate Muslim. It's impossible. Are they really moderate? Or when I go over, you know, the lying and cheating parts of the Quran, or are they just playing along for right now? Because it is a strategy of war to lie to the enemy, to give him misinformation. That is a strategy of war. Are they just practicing the first stage, deception, peaceful resistance, but underneath, they're ready to strike? No way you know.
This is the scariest thing I just thought of, how to describe a really good Muslim versus a really good Christian. Just want to say real quick, because you know, we're talking about not why you can't trust them and understanding the difficulties of their teachings that we have. a really strong Christian, one who really is devout and has followed Yeshua HaMashiach so closely and has grown so strongly, is the person you would describe very much like, I guess you could say Moses, or in our today's world, Gandhi, maybe, if you believe, if he was a Christian.
But Jesus himself.
Jesus himself, exactly. I'm like looking at even Martin Luther King Jr. We see great examples of people all over the world right now teaching crusades, revivals, and Christianity and all.
Gandhi, King,
now, these are
Mother Teresa.
And Mother Teresa. These are the type of people that Muslims want to kill. Okay? They don't believe it because they are not believers in Muhammad, that they're evil, that they're disobedient, and they're infidels, and on and on and on. But the really strong Muslim will act like a Gandhi, will act like a Martin Luther King, will act like a Mother Teresa outwardly. But inwardly, they're like Hitler. And that's the way I kind of see it, is that because they have to be so strong to be so kind to you in your face, and all the while want to kill you inside. It's as if you're in, I have a picture on my Facebook page, for example, of blacks who are doctors or surgeons having to do an emergency operation on a person who was a member of the KKK. The person of the KKK was shot. And they had 3 or 4 black people who had to save his life. Now, if that person who was a member of the KKK was a Muslim, sure, he would thank them for saving his life, but he would turn around and get up once he was well and want to kill them as well, because they were not Muslim. And to see how crazy that is. Mm-hmm. That's the kind of image I see is, how can we help these people see the truth? How can you help someone like that? Well, and that's where you have to work with your own heart.
It's like you said, a good Muslim, someone who is really following Islam, is going to be the best liar and deceiver that he could possibly be. Okay? He's like you say, he's going to act like Martin Luther King, Mahatma Gandhi, and Mother Teresa all rolled in one on the outside. But on the inside, he's gonna be like Adolf Hitler, Attila the Hun, John Wayne Gacy. He's gonna be the worst. Just waiting to strike, waiting for the opportune time. So, wow, what do you do when you face an enemy like that? When you face a foe like that? That's very difficult. We have never dealt with a foe like that ever in the West. No one that we have ever known in the West, we have never dealt with an enemy like that. I mean, we pour billions of dollars into these countries, and they still want to kill us. Mm-hmm. And they take our money. I mean, we bombed Japan. We were the worst enemies with Japan that you could possibly be. The whole nation hated Japan. There was no political correctness. You can call them whatever you want to call them. But now we're good allies with them. Same thing with Germany. But why is it that we have to constantly fight Muslims? Now you know why. Because they're reading a book that tells them that they have to do this.
Or else.
It's not just because we just found a group of people that just like to fight. They're reading something every day. It's being poured into them.
And they're so faithful.
From the time that they can understand the language, it's poured into them.
And they're so faithful. They pray.
Just like Christians. Some Christians are very faithful. They're every single day, they're having the Quran poured into them, telling them to kill people. They don't have a choice. And they believe they're doing the will of God. They believe that what they're doing is a good thing. That's all they're taught. And the countries that they come from don't even allow Christians to come in there and teach them the Bible. A lot of the people we're fighting have never heard the word of God, never heard about the love of Jesus.
Right.
Never even heard it. You know, it's almost like, do you blame a wild animal for attacking you? No, that's his nature. That's, you know, it's not their fault. That's the way God made them. But with a Muslim, that's how they were brought up from, you know, from the crib, from day one. They've never even heard about Jesus, a lot of them. I mean, they've heard about him, but they've never been taught the principles of the Bible. They just, Jesus was a prophet, blah, blah, blah. Moses was a prophet. That's it. They haven't been taught about the love of Yeshua.
Like you said, Jesus, like you said, Jesus is a prophet. We all as Christians don't question why, because all of it is better.
Say what?
That's how you said this is, and like they don't have reason, like the right to question why, because it said all of it knows better. So
They can't even, if they question or say they don't want to go out to war, that means they're an unbeliever.
Right.
They can't even say, well, I don't want to go out this time. What? Okay, the Bible says you're an unbeliever. We're going to treat you just like we treat an unbeliever.
Fear.
Then Sharia law, you know, it also, I read it to you, it says that if you give up the faith, you know, you're going to burn in hell. And Sharia law allows them to kill you. If I was a Muslim and I discovered, you know, Jesus, I found Jesus, wanted Jesus in my life, they have the legal right to kill me. They are commanded to now kill me. So what if, you know, you do get a Bible in the hands of a Muslim, and he kind of likes it, but he said, well, dang, if I convert, you know, my brother over here that I played soccer with in the backyard all my life, he'll kill me. That's a real good deterrent to keep people from converting.
Yeah.
One of their family members will kill them.
So no wonder they.
You know, so, you know, they can't even, like I said, you can't even have a Bible in Saudi Arabia. They don't even allow. How in the world are you going to get the word? You know, that's the difficulty. Maybe we can get the word to some of them over here, but over there, how are we going to get the word of God to them over there when it's illegal for you to build a church? And then even if you could, the government could just stand out there and just shoot everybody as they walk out the door. Okay, he converted, bam, he converted, bam. If you convert, you can be killed. You're not going to lose too many members that way, are you? You make it, you know, you make it illegal for them, you know, you make it illegal for them not to be a member, or else you kill them. And then if they become a member and quit, you kill them. You know, I guess someone say, hey, Allah for life. You know, Allah, you know, they don't even have a choice.
Right.
Interesting dilemma.
That's brainwashing, mass brainwashing, for sure.
Yeah.
And people can't deny that. I know they've heard this before, Muslims saying, we're not being brainwashed, but if you look at the definition of brainwashing, do you understand what brainwashing is? I'll read it to you real quick.
Come up here, and we'll close.
It's like mass brainwashing, mind control, meaning also known as brainwashing, coercive persuasion, mind abuse, menticide, thought control, or thought reform. Refers to a process in which a group or individual systematically uses unethically manipulative methods to persuade others to conform to the wishes of the manipulator or manipulators, often to the detriment of the person being manipulated. The term has been applied to any tactic, psychological or otherwise, any tactic which can be seen as subverting an individual's sense of control over their own thinking or their own behavior or emotions or decision making. You can't excuse that.
That's it. So you need to keep up with that. I want to read that. That is Islam in a nutshell. You know, how can you say you have free will, which is a prerequisite of Christianity and Judaism, if you think that if you quit, somebody will come and kill you? That's the greatest manipulation, right there. That's coercion, manipulation, fear,
Yeah.
terror. That is Islam. It's a terrorist, mind-controlling, brainwashing organization. Well, I'm going to close and say shalom. We'll see you for a special meeting tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. so that I can finish this. And hope to see you there.
Amen.
Shalom.
Thank you.